I'm on a journey to get better, and I want to do it with you. And I'm not just focusing on physical health. I'm focusing on everything: emotional wellness, spirituality, finances, relationships, and so much more. Every week, it will be my personal goal to bring us, the world's leading healers, experts, and game changers, to share groundbreaking secrets and tips to getting better in all areas of life. Getting better isn't easy, but it's a whole lot easier when we can do it together. Welcome to Better Together with me, Maria Menounos. Happy Monday, everybody. Glad to be back with you right here on Better Together. I got Mackenzie Fain in the co-host seat with me. We have been experiencing a lot of technical difficulties today. So my quote of the day is for you, Mackenzie. Today, I will not stress over things I can't control. By an unnamed person on Pinterest. How do you like that?
I like that. I need to live by that forever.
I think poor Mackenzie, we decided we were going to do this last minute interview with this wonderful woman we're going to share with you in just a little bit. And so she came down to the studio, started setting up, and then I started seeing a little frazzling, just a little. You handle it really well. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, nothing wants to work. No video for today. And I was like, okay, well, we'll do audio. Then audio didn't want to work. And so then her phone didn't want to work. Then the printer didn't want to work. And so literally everything that could go wrong, other than the lights are still on in here. So that's a good sign.
I'm glad about that. But I was just flabbergasted. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, because we did our interview in here and
it was great. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Everything went great.
Yeah.
So.
Well, listen, it's just one of those days. So this is what we did. We made lemonade. We used QuickTime on the Mac folder. So we'd record a second safety audio recording. You recorded video on the iPhone. So you will get to see the wonderful Wendy Garoshin, who is our guest today. Wendy is a small business owner in Connecticut. She has a small restaurant called Heirloom Food Company in Danielson, Connecticut. Now, I've been visiting Danielson since I was little because my aunt and uncle lived in Danielson down the street. And so in the last, 14 years or whatever, all of our family really is moving down here. My parents moved down here. My other aunt and uncle moved down here. My brother lives here now. And my brother happens to live a stone's throw away from Heirloom Food Company. So the other day, I wanted to take my mom to lunch, and I had a rough day. My dad had a really bad low blood sugar attack. It was he didn't even know where he was. And I just said, Dad, if you don't drink this juice right now, I'm calling 911, because he hates the ambulance, hates going to the hospital. And so he drank a juice with sugar in it, which you only do when it's so dire, adding sugar. And it was really, really scary. And so I got him back, thank God. And then things just kept going wrong with my mom. And I just was it was just the first stressful day I've had here, because every other day has been really peaceful and beautiful. So I take my mom to Wendy's place, and she pulls me aside to tell me this story about how the podcast basically saved her life. And I was like, whoa. And she was like, I listened to your podcast, and I heard the medical medium, and I started doing the celery juice. I had really bad colitis. Was going to have surgeries and a colostomy bag and all kinds of things they said. And if things didn't change right away. And she's like, and I did the celery juice and I healed myself, and I'm so grateful to your podcast. And I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. So of course, the first thing I thought of was will you write that in Apple Podcast reviews, but tell people exactly what you did so that they can learn from you. And then I texted Kevin, I'm like, you're never going to believe this. And she, of course, it made me feel good because we all work so hard on this show, and it's my passion project. And so to know that it's making a difference in people's lives is the reward I get. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not making money off of this. So that's what I get. And so Kevin's like, wait, you need to bring her into studio. We need to hear everything. And I'm like, you're right. She's one of our listeners. This is so cool. So.
And she was so cute and so great. Yeah. And I have to just say, this show is going to change so many people's lives.
Yeah.
Hearing a true story, a real live listener.
Yeah. She's a real life person I met. She listens to our show. She was impacted, and it's just so cool. So I'm excited to bring her to you guys because I'm also equally impressed with her business. She has this beautiful organic restaurant. It's breakfast and lunch, and she's open 5 days a week. She's a young mom, and she is you. And so take a listen because there's a lot to learn and a lot you're going to be connected to and a lot you're going to relate to. So without further ado, here is my interview with Wendy Garoshin. Wendy, thank you so much for being here.
And thanks for having me.
I have to say it was such a nice, I had a kind of tough morning when we came in because my mom woke me up from the dead. My dad's type 1 diabetic. Oh. And she woke me up from the dead. I'm like, Mom, what do you want? And she goes, your dad's sugar's low and I can't get him better. And I jumped out of bed. I run downstairs and he's literally seconds away from going bye-bye.
Oh, goodness.
I've never seen his body pouring sweat, just pouring everywhere. And his sugar had to have been lower than 20 because I gave him juice with sugar and it brought it up to 35. Most people are in a coma at 35.
Oh my goodness.
And he was well below that. So I'd had to revive him and bring him back. And luckily I know well enough what I can or I can't because I was about to call 911 too. And then my mom's coming down the stairs. She has this those elevator escalator things for the stairs. Yes. And she drops one of her batteries on my head. And so it's
a good day so far.
Everything. Then she gets out of the car and her machine for her brain treatments, she forgot she had it on. So the bag ended up in the car. The wires all ripped out. It was just not the most fun morning ever. And I was like, we are going to go to lunch and we're going to reset. And we show up to your store, your heirloom food company store, and to get a nice organic lunch. And there you were with this beautiful story. Aww. And it just changed everything for me. It was I had to be there to hear it that day. But the more important part is that this is such an important story for our listeners to hear because you are a listener.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another reason why I love this. You're a listener to the show. You applied things that you learned here and you healed yourself. And I think that's so cool. And you're such a great example for people. So let's start with what you were diagnosed with and how this all kind of came to be.
Sure. So for about 2 years, I was convinced that the symptoms that I was having was just a little bit of stress and that it would get better. And I am that quintessential person who was convinced it would just go away and I was not going to need to go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where symptoms were so bad that I knew I needed to go see a doctor.
And what were those symptoms? What was happening?
So I had pain every time I put anything in my mouth. It felt like the sides of my stomach were just clenching and I was in terrible pain. And we'd be out at a gathering or a party and I would be just doubled over in the bathroom in pain, just not knowing what to do with my stomach. And then I started seeing a lot of blood in stools and all kinds of things. So it got to the point where I knew something was really, really wrong. And when I went to the doctor, they told me that I had pretty severe ulcerative colitis, that my digestive tract was basically filled with ulcers.
Wow.
Which, I'm a person that has always been an organic person that's on, a plant-based diet. So I was kind of like, how is this happening to me? And they said that typically when this happens to women that are under 40, a lot of times it is just related to stress.
Mm-hmm. How old are you? Or how old were you when it happened?
I was 34 when it started.
Got it.
So they told me that it was a stress-related issue and that when you have this at this severe and it has been untreated for so long, that you are a candidate for basically being on medication for a very long time, if not the rest of your life. And that if it didn't get better soon, I'd be looking at surgeries and possibly having to have a bag for the rest of my life. At 34, that was shocking to hear.
Wow.
Especially when I felt like, man, I do everything right. I drink all my water. I eat my organic food. I eat very little meat. And I was kind of like, how is this happening to me? they told me that, I needed to have colonoscopies and all of that to check things out. And so they diagnosed me with that ulcerative colitis. And right around that time, when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, is when I had heard the podcast that you did with the medical medium. And he was talking about celery juice, and I had kind of heard little things about celery juice, but I was like, I don't really know what to do with that. And you guys had given such great instruction. So I was really taking notes that day. And I was looking at, he was saying, drink it, has to be 16 ounces, has to be on an empty stomach, has to be first thing in the morning. And so I started just following that to a T. I was doing it twice a day. And within 2 weeks, I was like, wow, I am feeling a whole lot less pain. So
wow.
that was a start right there, just to have less pain.
So that was the first 2 weeks. You continued it for how long?
I continued it for about 8 months.
Wow.
By the end, I saw no blood at all anymore. I had no pain. I figured out which foods really set it off. And slowly I was, you test the waters. You miss the stuff that you love that you couldn't eat. So I was testing the waters and having a little bit of dairy. I'm a weird person that loves tofu. So I was like, come on, man, I really want to eat tofu again. And I was able to eat tofu again with no digestive problems. So I started seeing a whole lot of improvement. A lot of those symptoms were completely gone after about, I would say after 3 months. And then I became like scared not to do it. So then it became part of my religion. Like every morning we do a celery juice. I actually went to Montserrat, which is a tiny little island in the Caribbean, for a week. And I brought my little juicer on that plane like a crazy person. And I was walking around that island that has, not a whole lot of supermarkets, searching out to the little women that run the supermarkets. Do you have celery? I need more celery.
Wow.
So I was committed. So
8 months later, you're feeling totally better. Mm-hmm. I mean, after 3 months, you said you started to feel better.
Yes. After 3 months, there was no blood. There was no pain. But I still couldn't eat everything without feeling like, this doesn't feel perfect yet.
What were those things that were still sensitive?
Dairy, onions, tofu. And unfortunately for me, I love greens.
Yeah.
I do greens to a point that most people think is gross, but I could not eat any greens. My body could not digest arugula, kale, spinach, anything. So I thought, this can't be healthy. And the doctors had told me, well, the colitis diet is white bread, white rice, very plain.
Oh, how do you live? I can't live without greens. And also, like, when you're a healthy-minded person, to think about eating white bread and white rice sounds so horrible.
Right? And especially if your whole life, you're thinking like, I'm doing the right thing. And now they're telling you, nope, if you want to be healthy, it's going to have to be white bread, white rice, really simple carbs. They gave me the day after my colonoscopy, they said, here, you're going to want to eat about 5-6 saltine crackers. And I thought, I haven't had a saltine cracker since I was 7,
Wow.
This is what my diet is going to consist of now.
Wow. Okay, so 8 months later, you're feeling better.
Yeah, so 8 months later, I'm feeling better.
Did you call your doctors along the way, or?
I did. The doctors that I was seeing, they really were not on board for any sort of diet change. They said that you can't really change colitis with diet. I just didn't believe that. I feel like if my body created this, my body can fix this.
I love it.
So when I went back, I had called them and told them, I'm not seeing any blood. I'm not having any of these symptoms. But they wanted to do another colonoscopy anyway, which I get it. They're the doctors. So we went back, did the colonoscopy. And they said, we don't see any inflammation. We don't see any of the digestive tract full of ulcers. We don't see any of it.
So all the ulcers were gone?
The ulcers were gone. The inflammation was gone. They had given me medication that I had never taken. My husband said, like, let's go get it. We went and got it. And I said, I'm not taking this. I'm going to fix this. So they said, well, were you taking that medication? I said, I never took any of it. And they said, well, ulcerative colitis does not go into remission without medication.
And what's the medication called that they give you? Do you remember?
No, they gave me a few of them, some that were, internal medication, some that they wanted me to.
And you took nothing?
I took nothing, not a thing. I'm afraid of medication to begin with.
I know, me too. And so what did they say?
So
it can't go away without medicine.
They actually kind of laughed at me a little bit, and they were like, oh, she thinks she went into remission from celery juice, but we probably misdiagnosed you to begin with. So that was crazy.
How do you misdiagnose ulcers? They said you had multiple ulcers.
Yes.
This happens all the time, There's a cancer clinic called Baja Medgate in Mexico that I took my mom to. And a lot of people go there when they have no chance anymore, right? Like it's their final stop because, first of all, it can be pricey for some people. And also, you trust regular doctors. And then when they tell you you have no chance, that's when you start to look elsewhere.
Right.
So people would go there and they would be cured and they'd come back and the doctors would say, oh, we must have misdiagnosed you. And it's just because they only know what's scientifically proven. And so they can't get behind anything, even legally, if you think about it.
Right.
Without it being scientifically proven. So, wow. So they tell you were probably misdiagnosed and then send you off?
Yes. And then they said, if things continue like this, we'd love to see you once a year just to check in, but there's really no need for you to make another appointment at this point. And we think we'd misdiagnosed you. Be on your merry way.
How long ago was that?
So the last time that I went I got the news that I was free of all of that in March.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they didn't want, this is what bothers me sometimes about doctors. Like, wouldn't you want to know more and say, let's tell some of our other patients to try this? It's just celery juice.
Right.
Probably costs them less money to make the celery juice than it is to even pay the copay on the prescription.
For sure. They wanted nothing at all to talk about with diet or the celery juice or anything that I'd done. But I have a super awesome primary care doctor who I actually just went to see last week. She's in Woodstock, and she was like, wait a minute. When I told her, this is what has happened, she was like, wait a minute, tell me about the celery juice. Tell me what you were doing. Tell me. And she just wanted to hear about it, which was the first doctor that ever was interested in the diet piece of it.
Yeah.
Every other doctor was just kind of like, oh, this must be a fluke. We must have misdiagnosed you.
So now March was the last time you saw the doctors. It's now August. How are you feeling?
So good. I am back on tofu. I got to have my scrambled tofu. I'm able to eat onions. I have no pain. I missed coffee a lot. I couldn't have coffee. I'm doing some coffee again.
Wow.
So.
And are you still taking the celery juice?
Not as often. I do it probably once a week now because it did get a little bit harsh on the stomach after a while. But I think like anything else, when you do a lot of it, your body kind of tells you like, all right, I don't need this anymore right now. And I think that was my body saying enough.
I had a story. So I did the celery juice as well for a long time. And then my stomach started rejecting it. And I was having, diarrhea and things like that. And it was getting to be too much. And I told the medical medium and he goes, yeah, that happens. I think he basically said, I'm going to have to check in with him. Actually, I think he said you have to take a little break or it was something to that effect. So I'm going to find out and let everybody know. Because I kind of just abandoned it at that point thinking, oh, maybe this isn't good. Maybe this is, just a fat, or maybe this is just not good on my body. But I was noticing my skin changing and a lot of things feeling better.
Yeah.
I just have such a renewed hope in it all, hearing your story.
Yeah.
And hearing that you were able to prevent colostomy bags or whatever, all of this stuff and surgeries and worst of all that pain.
Right.
And being such a young woman, I want to ask you about the stress component because you are a small business owner. And, I have come and I have had her tofu. Holy moly. I hate tofu and I love her tofu sandwich. Tell me, was it the stress of being a business owner and all of that? Was that your biggest stressor?
Yeah, a lot of it, it's a restaurant business in a tiny town and we do everything from scratch and we work with organic local farmers. So I think most restaurants are able to maybe put in 3 or 4 orders a week. For us, we are constantly getting emails from farmers around the state saying, hey, we have this. Can you take it? Hey, we need this, to get out of the fields or it's going to go bad. So it's a lot of constant. I have 2 small kids under 6 as well. So balancing the needs of that business with my little ones, just became a lot. And, I know very well that I was falling into some habits that weren't great. I was drinking coffee and not water. I was not sleeping. I was staying up late and, doing stuff for me after the kids went to sleep.
Yeah.
And I just got into a lot of bad habits that snowballed. And then when you're in a lot of those bad habits, I feel like it's tough to remember, like, wait, I do need to take care of my own water intake, my own nutrition needs.
Yeah.
And so I think it just kind of snowballed, and this was a wake-up call to really remember. There was a podcast that you did that you said you were turning into a human doing instead of a human being. And I related to that so much. I was just doing the things.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so easy for us women to fall into, right? Like you're taking care of everybody and you're like, oh, I don't have time for myself. Like how long before you even addressed your colitis issues?
2 years. 2 years. I was like, no, this will be fine. It's going to go away. It'll be fine. I don't have time to go to the doctors. I'm not driving to Providence.
I have the chills all the way up and down my body. I don't have time to go to the doctors.
Yeah.
And that's how many of us that say that.
It's not true, but it's what we put in our head.
Yeah. It's not just you. We all do it. I was having so much pain. And I was like, I'm not going to get an MRI. I'm being paranoid. Mm-hmm. I just need to drink more water and be hydrated. There's no way I'm going to waste resources, insurance companies' resources on the MRI costs and my time going and my assistant's time schedule. I'm not doing this.
Right? But if it was for someone else, you'd be there in a heartbeat.
2 seconds.
Yeah. It's crazy. We're crazy people. I don't know.
And that's what's great is that you learn that lesson even 34 is not too old to learn that lesson, not too young. You have a whole lifetime ahead of you. And now you can impact your children too and teach them.
Absolutely.
Because we don't think we matter. That's the problem.
Right. Everybody else does, but we're fine. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so happy to hear that you're doing great and that show has helped you. Mm-hmm. That's why we do this. I wish we were in our LA studio where you can meet Steph and Steven, who work tirelessly on the show as well, because every week I'm challenging Stephanie. I'm like, we need to find another amazing person. I'll hear someone or she'll read something. That's our goal every week, is to find amazing people that will help us in all areas.
You guys are killing it. You're killing it.
Thank you.
I think that, it spreads. So when I hear it, I work with 12 girls, women who are, we're all young women. And when I heard about it, I'm telling them, then they're hearing about it. They're telling their family. And we are I think you're exposing us to a lot of things that we otherwise wouldn't hear of for 20 plus years from now.
Yeah. So that's the thing is like, and I say to people all the time, like, you can abuse your body in your 20s, go without sleep, go without the right nutrition, all of that. And then some point in your 30s, things are going to start to creep in. And then definitely by your late 30s, early 40s, it's going to get real. Yeah. So it's like, let's catch everyone ahead of time. And luckily, a lot of millennials listen to this show.
Yes, they do.
So it's like, I feel good that we're able to get them on the right track in all areas of their life. But I wonder if you shouldn't figure out a way to incorporate this into your business. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, Heirloom Food Company in Danielson, Connecticut. If you're in any part of Connecticut, it's worth the drive just to come down there. We were there. My mom and I had lunch the other day when we talked to you.
Yeah.
And I had that delicious tofu. What's it called?
You had the curry mock chicken tofu wrap.
Holy moly, was it good. And it's just good energy. All the girls in there are just great energy. It's so cute. You've just done such a great job with it. And it's definitely in an area that needs it. But I wonder if you don't add celery juice to the menu and tell people and like list the healing benefits under in the menu rather than the ingredients, because there are no ingredients.
Right.
Just put the healing benefits for people, and then you can tell your story. You can even, just write something up about how you had severe ulcerative
colitis. Yeah.
I think that would be really cool, because now you can continue to pass it on through your business as well.
Yeah. I think something that is really interesting about your podcast that the girls and I were talking about is that a lot of times when you have health issues or your own personal issues, it feels easier to just keep it private. Mm-hmm. But because you talk about what happened to you, I think you're right. And you're right in that, people that have the ability to do so, like I absolutely should have that somewhere. Like, well, how did I not think of that until you just said that?
Well, that's why we're better together.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
It's true.
So yeah, I think that it's inspiring to hear other people talk about their own medical situations rather than hide it from everybody, because in the way that you just said, I mean, if I put that up on the board, I think more people might be able to use it and apply it to their own situations.
Totally. Well, it helps so many different things. Mm-hmm. So I think it could be really cool. How does this happen to someone like you who is eating organic, who is doing all the right things? Yeah. What do you think?
I really think it's just that stress level. I think that a lot of people who may not eat as well or, drink the water, eat organic food, they may, eat kind of junk food, but they don't have a stress level that's as high as especially a lot of moms who are or business owners. You've got that stress of you've got to keep up, you've got to keep up, you've got to keep up. There's no downtime. And I think that stress is just, far more of a factor than we want to admit.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're listening to the show, because I do have many times some good gems in there about how we can remove stress as women, like the email auto reply that I give out where I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to really be reading your emails, which frees me of so much pressure to respond right away. So now if I want to respond, if it's something that I do want to take my time responding to, I will in the time that I want. I don't stress about sending flowers to people immediately. I used to have, you had a baby, the flowers were right there.
Yeah.
Now you might not get them for 2 months. I'm going to do it on the time that I can. So you have to start implementing these things into your life, because we get so overwhelmed with our to-do lists.
Absolutely.
And we're not living. We're not. I now go out and I breathe the air and I smell the flowers and I listen to the birds chirping, and I'm such a happier person because of it. And so you have to reclaim your life, take back. People talk about taking back your power, but I'm kind of more let's take back our lives a little bit.
Yeah.
And let's go back to being human beings. And so I'm glad that you're starting to learn all of this, because we did an episode with Alyssa Goodman on autoimmune diseases recently, and 23.5 million people have autoimmune diseases in this country, as opposed to 9 million with cancer, she said. And so when you think of how different those numbers are, when we think cancer is everywhere.
Right.
And autoimmune diseases are really just from stress, from being in fight or flight.
And did she say that it happens to women far more often than men? Yeah. Because,
So we need to fix things. And so I'm going to share this with the medical medium. I think he's going to be really excited to hear your story.
Super awesome.
So cool, Wendy. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, and for pulling me aside on a really kind of traumatic day and telling me something that just made me feel so happy.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for having me. No, thanks for having me.
All right, Mackenzie, I always ask Steph at the end of the show, and Steven, what have we learned? So what did you learn today?
I learned that I need to be taking care of my body a lot more. I feel like that, but also, listen to your body. Anything could happen. Listen to the signs that your body is telling you, and go to the damn doctor.
Yeah, don't shush it off.
Yeah, don't shush it off. Really listen to yourself. Oh my God, I had chills the whole time.
You're how old now? 27?
25.
25. Oh my God, I almost aged you by 25.
I know, what is going on?
I think my mom told me yesterday you were 27.
No.
You know Mackenzie, she's 27. Okay, so you're 25, so this is the perfect time to be hearing all of this stuff.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm going to make celery juice tomorrow.
It's so good for your skin too. So you're going to love, love, love it, because I noticed it on my skin right away. And I guess my next step is to talk to the medical medium and find out when and if it does affect your bowels, if it becomes too harsh on your system, what is the protocol then? Do you take it down to a couple of weeks? Do you take a little break and get back on it? He told me I don't remember, so now I'm going to reach out to him and find out, and I will tell you in a future episode, hopefully by next week. In the meantime, thank you guys for listening to Better Together. Please help us by rating, commenting, subscribing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you love the show, share it with a friend, social out your favorite episode or what has maybe impacted you, because Wendy's story was so powerful. She can't be the only one. We'd love to hear from all of you. And even, you know, send us a little video testimonial like she did, telling us how the show helped her and what she did to cure herself of a disease. If you've been cured of something or you've been healing yourself of something, we want to know how you did it so that we can share it with everybody else and get everybody better so we can be better together.
You're so good at that.
I don't mean it. It just comes out.
It's so perfect.
In the meantime, follow us at Maria Menounos, at Mackenzie Fain, at Steph Sabra, at Stephen Lemieux Photo. And remember, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.